Welcome to the Damascus Road podcast. On the road to Damascus, Paul had a radical encounter with Jesus and his life was changed forever. That is what we hope and pray for here. Now, on to this week's episode.
My name is Megan. I'm one of the co-pastors here, and I am the oldest of 4 siblings, and I love my brother and my sisters. This is us. We're kind of silly, but we have a great time together, and we're really close in age. Like, we're each just a year apart from the next one. And so growing up, I had built-in friends. Like, feeling a little bored, just go knock on your sister's door and make her play with you, because I'm the oldest, so she has to. Feeling lonely, just head downstairs where everyone is gathered on the sofa to watch Survivor together. Built-in movie night. We all lived in the same house, we all liked each other, and so if I wanted companionship or a friend to be with, they were easy to access and just around all the time. It was pretty awesome. But college was a big change for me. I went from deep and easy companionship with people that I'd known like literally their whole lives to knowing absolutely nobody. I moved into the dorms with some random roommate that I got reassigned to 3 different times. All my family was back home an hour and a half away, and I was faced with the overwhelming and daunting task of having to make friendships from scratch. A famous essay by Marina Keegan begins with the line, "We don't have a word for the opposite of loneliness. But if we did, I could say that that's what I want in life." And I don't know about you guys, but I wholeheartedly agree. And I don't think that as a freshman in college, I could have articulated the estrangement that I was feeling as loneliness, but that's what it was. I was suddenly disconnected from anyone who I knew and who knew me. I was anonymous, I was untethered and unknown, and my heart withered under that. There's a reason that loneliness is so painful. Now, last week, Ryan introduced us to the biblical roots of loneliness, citing Genesis 2:18. So when God made Adam, he said, "It is not good for the man to be alone." Heads up, it is not good for the woman either, but luckily God made Adam first, then Eve, so the woman never had to be alone, which is nice. But what is crucial to note here is that even before sin ever entered the story, even before there was any broken relationship between God and humans, it was still not good for the man to be alone. It is not good for you to be alone. We are made for human companionship and friendship. We are made for people. Now, despite having this great ache to know others and to be known myself, this ache for companionship and friendship, I had absolutely no idea how to make friends. How did I become friends with my siblings? I don't know, they just showed up one day and they stayed. How do I possibly replicate that process with random people that I'm meeting at college? I was a fish out of water. I was woefully inexperienced in the art of making friends because I had never had to really do it before. And maybe this morning you find yourself in a situation like me. You desperately want friends and relationship and the closeness of the human companionship you were made for, but you just moved and you're totally starting from scratch. Or maybe you've entered a new phase of life. You've gone from being a student to transitioning to working full-time, and suddenly your day in margin looks really different. Or maybe you've gone to having a baby and realizing, wow, my schedule is so different when I have a tiny little one. Maybe you have multiple kids. Maybe you're retiring. Maybe you're an empty nester and all your kids just moved out. These different seasons of life change how we make friends. Maybe you've gotten too busy. Maybe you used to have friends, but everyone just feels further and further away and you are not sure how to get back to that close feeling with them again. Justin Whitmell Early, in his book Made for People, says that we are not friendless because we want to be. None of us chooses loneliness on purpose. I've never met a single person who does not long wholeheartedly for friendship. But we live with a tremendous dissonance. It is common sense that friendship is the good life, but common practice is to drift into loneliness. The current of modern life is to become busier, wealthy people who used to have friends. And mostly, you won't even notice that this is happening. When everyone is drifting in the same current, you won't notice anyone moving at all. If you are going to fight to swim upstream towards a life of friendship, it will look and feel very strange. But loneliness comes without the cost of choice. You don't choose it. It chooses you. If we just do what we've always done, if we just drift into the natural pattern of our lives, if we don't actively choose and fight for friendship, we will eventually be friendless. And that's not because we want to be. No one chooses loneliness. All of us are made for people, and we deeply long to have companions and friends for the journey. But because of the brokenness of the curse, if we choose apathy or busyness or just hoping that friendship will stumble upon us, we will end up lonely and disappointed people. Friendships don't just happen. They are something we are made for and something we must actively choose, or loneliness will choose us. Now, some of why loneliness will choose us is because we are swimming in the current of the modern West. This is the time and space that God placed us in. I'm happy about it because it has plumbing and hot water, two of my favorite things. But each context also has its own unique challenges to it. And in our country of America, there are underlying values and messages and priorities that we subconsciously mold to because we don't even recognize they're happening. Like if you're a fish swimming in water, it's really hard to recognize the water around you because it's just normal. This is just what life is like. Now, I do not believe that loneliness is a uniquely American problem. It is a sin and evil problem. Once Adam and Eve chose to define good and evil on their own terms rather than God's, they suddenly introduced strife and brokenness into the relationships with each other, which made it hard to choose the togetherness necessary for friendship. Suddenly, relationship just wasn't easy. And that brokenness continues through the whole Bible. Their sons, Cain and Abel, had a hard time loving each other, and people throughout all of time have had a hard time loving each other. And it is these broken relationships, these sinful choices that we make, that can lead to loneliness. So loneliness is a broken humanity problem. It's all around the world. But the negative spiritual forces that work against our flourishing and thriving have some very American-specific strategies to further drive us into loneliness. I was recently talking to my friend Blanca, and she is from Chile. She is awesome and amazing, and her son is one of my son's best friends. And at my son Roland's Minecraft movie birthday night, we were not terribly interested in the Minecraft movie. So instead, we just sat on the side and we chatted. And I was asking Blanca about some of the differences that she's noticed from her home country of Chile and then our country of America. And I was very surprised at what she had picked up and identified as distinctly American values that were not the norm where she is from, and that actually troubled her and concerned her for her fellow Americans. The first one was materialism. Everyone is so concerned with things and getting more things and having nice things, she said. But that's not what makes life good. It doesn't matter what things you have. You have a simple life that you enjoy with people, and the people, not the things, are what makes life good. And this is not a message on materialism, but I couldn't help but be reminded of Jesus' countless words about possessions and money. Like in Luke chapter 12, Jesus tells us, watch out. Be on your guard against all kinds of greed. Life does not consist in an abundance of possessions. But if we are not careful, if we don't examine our subconscious cultural biases, the waters that we're swimming in, we can inadvertently prioritize things, and the accumulation of things can be something that we devote a lot of time and energy to. Now, the other thing that she talked about was kind of related to this materialism thing, but more subtle. Blanca told me, she said, everyone here is so concerned about saving for retirement. I was like, why is that a big deal? And she said, that's not a bad thing, but they work all day for someday that we have no guarantee that we'll have. And it reminded me of the parable about the guy with the barn that Jesus tells in Luke 12. Here's what he says. He says, the ground of a certain rich man yielded an abundant harvest. He thought to himself, what shall I do? I have no place to store my crops. Then he said, this is what I'll do. I will tear down my barns and build bigger ones, and there I will store my surplus grain. And I'll say to myself, you have plenty of grain laid up for many years. Take life easy, eat, drink, and be merry. But God said to him, you fool, this very night your life will be demanded from you. Then who will get what you have prepared for yourself? This is how it will be with whoever stores up things for themselves, but is not rich toward God. Are we spending our time and energy storing up grain for many years, or are we using our time and energy to be rich towards God? We have no guarantee of the future, but we have today. Are we prioritizing what is truly important in life with how we spend today, this day? Now again, I'm not saying that saving for retirement is a bad thing. Please save for retirement. It is wise and prudent to plan for your future. The Bible elsewhere says it is good to have diligent financial planning and saving for future seasons of our life. The issue is not saving for retirement. The issue is the misalignment of priorities. Are my daily decisions and what I'm investing in with my choices right here, right now, representative of that thing's ultimate importance in life? Early warns, remember, the predicament of modern life is that we are prone to become busier, wealthier people who used to have friends. That is the current that takes us should we do nothing else. And that's what we're swimming in, you guys. This is our culture that we were born into. And if we don't recognize the underlying values of our culture that are implicitly steering our decision-making, we will become straight-A students with packed resumes, high-earning workaholics with healthy retirement balances, surrounded by lots and lots of beautiful, nice things, but not have a life rich towards God and others. But we are not disciples of America. We are disciples of Jesus. And what does Jesus say is the most important things to invest in? Luckily, someone asked him. So a guy came out to Jesus and he's like, Jesus, tell me the greatest commandment in the Bible. What should I center my whole life in? And Jesus answered, not with one answer, but two answers, because he's Jesus. So in Matthew 22, Jesus replied, you must love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, and all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. And a second is equally important. Love your neighbor as yourself. The entire law and all the demands of the prophets are based on these two commandments. So, to put it succinctly, what is most important according to Jesus? You love God and you love others. Retirement didn't make the list. Remember that in the parable of the barn fellow, he prioritized accumulating wealth and having a safe and secure future, which again are not bad things. But Jesus' critique of him was that he was not rich towards God and that he was storing things up for himself. He had failed to meet the greatest priorities of loving God and loving others, and God calls him foolish. And I know that I don't want God to call me foolish with my life. So what are we investing our time and energy into? What are our priorities as evidenced by what we decide to give time to? Where are we sowing that every day 24-hour commodity that each of us is given? In Galatians, Paul warns, do not be misled. You cannot mock the justice of God. You will always harvest what you plant. Those who live only to satisfy their own sinful nature will harvest decay and death from that sinful nature. But those who live to please the Spirit will harvest everlasting life from the Spirit. So let's not get tired of doing what is good. At just the right time, we will reap a harvest of blessing if we don't give up. Therefore, whenever we have the opportunity, we should do good to everyone, especially to those in the family of faith. Now, it can be very scary to readjust our priorities around what Jesus says. Because like planting fields and a crop or like saving for your retirement, you don't see the payoff right away. You have this long season of investing and investing and investing before the fruit shows. You have to step out and trust. And you have to believe that the author of life, when he tells you that loving God and loving others is the most important thing you could possibly do with your life, that he's right. You realign your money, your time, your priorities with loving God and loving others at the heart. And you trust that this is the good life. It's not the lies that our culture tells us about what makes life worth living. It is this that makes a good and beautiful life. Jesus tells us, seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. God is not saying that the practical needs of life aren't something that are real, that you need. But what are the priorities? He says, seek him first, seek his way first, prioritize what he tells us is important, loving God and loving others, and then all these other things will take care of themselves. God will take care of you. You don't have to worry about it. Seek him first, love others, and everything will be given to you as well. I love how the Message version of the Bible puts this truth. It says, what I'm trying to do here is to get you to relax, to not be so preoccupied with getting so you can respond to God's giving. People who don't know God and the way he works fuss over these things, but you know both God and how he works. Steep your life in God reality, God initiative, God provisions. Don't worry about missing out. You'll find all your everyday human concerns will be met. So as we shift our priorities to match what Jesus tells us is most important, you may feel worried. You may feel like, I'm going to miss out, or how will my everyday human concerns be met? But in that step of trust and faith in God, we trust that what he also says, that he will take care of us, is true. Okay, so what do we do with this information? The stakes are high. Either we follow God's way or we don't. But luckily, the solution is pretty simple, because like a lot of seemingly difficult things, like wanting to lose weight or learning a new language or becoming an engineer, or being able to do a handstand, which is my personal goal, the path forward is not these like huge sweeping overhauls or just knuckling down and just making it happen. You cannot try just really hard one day and lose 50 pounds, unless you did liposuction, but that's kind of different. I could try and do a handstand right now for y'all, and I tell you, I will fail. No matter how hard I try at that handstand, I will not succeed. If you want loving God and loving others to be the center of your life, if you want to foster and cultivate deep friendships that persist through life's journey, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but you cannot just try really hard today and make a best friend. It'd be cool if that was the way it worked, but that's not how life works. Loving God and loving others is not just a try hard enough kind of thing. Making friends is not I just knuckle down and do it and boom, best friend right now. Making friends and loving them is way more like losing weight or learning a language or becoming an engineer or being able to do a handstand. It is the result of the accumulation of lots and lots of very small daily decisions. New York Times columnist, author, and minister Tish Harrison Warren writes this really excellent book called The Liturgy of the Ordinary, where she explores the power and importance of our small daily decisions. She says, examining my daily choices as a liturgy, as something that both revealed and shaped what I love and worship, allowed me to realize that my daily practices were malforming me, making me less alive, less human, less able to give and receive love throughout my day. Changing this ritual allowed me to form a new repetitive and contemplative habit that pointed me towards a different way of being in the world. How are our current small choices, how we've set up an environment, how we operate on autopilot in the world, not helping us? Are my daily practices forming me into a more connected, loving, open to relationship, good friend, or are they doing the opposite? Are they malforming me into a more lonely, isolated, closed-off, friendless person? If I look at where I'm spending my time and priorities, do I find that they are rich towards God and others? Because as Annie Dillard famously said, how we spend our days is, of course, how we spend our lives. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to get to the end of my life and find out that I was not rich towards God or people. Now, the simplest and most powerful tool in our arsenal to combat against this kind of drift into loneliness is a schedule. You might think, "Ooh, that's a kind of weird tool. I thought it'd be something a little more biblical, like verse." But no, a schedule. Time is the currency of our formation and priority. Where we spend our time reveals what we value most, and it predicts who we're going to become. Early says, "It is surprising how much a schedule can be the difference between life and death, including the life and death of relationship." And he's totally right. If we do not spend time on people in time, we will not have people. Now, one of the biggest pushbacks to prioritizing God and people in our schedules is, "I'm too busy." And you're right. You are probably too busy. That is another cultural current of the West that the devil uses to keep us from life and flourishing. If you are more interested in that topic, please read The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry by John Mark Comer. It is so good. I cannot do it justice here. It is a transformative book, but the nitty-gritty of it is slow down. You're doing too much. We are too busy. We cannot make more time in our schedules. Each of us has exactly the same amount given to us, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, no more, no less. This is what we've got, but we get to choose how we spend it. And that will require making some tough choices and cutting out things that currently are taking up your time. So the first thing that I want to suggest that you guys do is a time audit. In the book of Ephesians, Paul tells us, "So then be careful," or literally look carefully, "how you walk, not as unwise people, but as wise, making the most of your time because the days are evil." We need to look carefully at how we are walking, at our schedules, how we're spending our time, and decide, are we making the most of our time or are we not? Are our schedules rich towards God and others? Are they prioritizing lots of other things? This can be really painful but illuminating. So grab a weekly schedule, and for 2 weeks, I want you to just simply keep track of what you're doing. I find it really helpful to use one that tracks time. That's not just like a list, because a list doesn't give you like a visual of how much time you spent on it. You can use Google Calendar if you like digital stuff, or this is my favorite planner. It's called the Essential Daily Planner. It is the only one that I found like this thus far. So the bottom half is time. So you can like literally put in your schedule and block out how much time you're spending on something. And then the top is free for notes or prayers or whatever you want to do in the top. But this has been really helpful for me because I can get an immediate visual of where I'm spending my time. And then after your 2 weeks of just writing down what you do when, start coloring your activities in. So you want people time, God time, work time, and me time. Now you can get more detailed if you want more specific data, but these will kind of like generally catch the shape of where you're spending your time. And now look at your blocks and say, if Jesus tells us that the 2 most important things in life are to love God and to love others, based on my schedule, what are the most important things to me? Is my God color and my people color a lot, or is it really, really small? Now doing this can be pretty horrifying. Recently, I have spent way too much time watching the Australian version of The Bachelorette. Their accents are hilarious, but it is trash TV, I'm not gonna lie. And if you looked at my schedule, you would think, wow, this show is really, really important to Megan. She spends so much time watching episodes of The Bachelorette. And you can judge me, and you should, because it is a terrible use of my time. And time is the currency of formation and priority. What I'm investing my time in is not what I say matters most to me. I would not tell you that The Bachelorette is the most important thing to me. But if you look at my schedule, it kind of seems like it is. Now, look at your schedule and ask yourself, if I continue this for the next 6 months to a year, will I be a more God-loving, people-centric person at the end of it or not? Will I be on the path to deep friendship or the path to loneliness? And if I look at my schedule with The Bachelorette in there, I'm not sure that that will make me a more God-loving, people-centric person if I continue to do that for the next 6 months. Early tells us it is easy to overlook how vital relationship is, so we don't fight to schedule accordingly. Usually friendship is the last thing that we schedule because it feels so flexible, but we are wrong in doing this. Friendship is as urgent as it is important, so it should be scheduled as a way of prioritizing it over the other demands of life. If you do not have people time in your schedule, in time, you will not have people. Now, scheduling people time does not have to be overwhelming. I know you guys are like, I'm too busy. There's no more space in my schedule to add a block of people time. That is okay. The most important thing is small, repetitive commitments. You cannot just muscle down in one time and say, people time. All right, I'm set. You want small, repetitive hanging out with people in order to build friendships. And one of the best things that you can do is just plug into an existing schedule. There are groups of people who are already committed to showing up to each other consistently and regularly. All you have to do is show up too. The church is God's gift to friendship. Every week at 10:30 a.m., I know there will be y'all here in this room. And if I want to hang out with you, all I have to do is show up right here. It's pretty awesome. I didn't have to schedule anything. I didn't have to arrange anything. I didn't have to text you all and say, please meet me here. It's already happening. I just show up. And I know that if I block out 10:30 to 12 on Sunday mornings in my schedule as people time, that I will spend an hour and a half with y'all every week, and we will become friends. Friendship can be complicated, but ultimately research shows that you become friends with people that you spend time with. Good people who love Jesus are already here. So let yourself become friends with them by simply putting it into your schedule. Every Thursday night, there's another gathering of people every single week. Small groups we do on Thursday, which are a little smaller than this, and you get to talk more, so it's fun. But again, that you build friendships with the people that you spend time with. I have been at our church for a very long time. I've gone to very many different small groups. But I find that in each small group season, my friendships like wax and wane. And whoever I'm in small group with that season, I feel closer to them. And it's not because, I inherently like these people way more than those people. I'm just spending more time with them, and so our relationship inherently deepens and gets closer. So take advantage of the good and helpful rhythms of the church that are already in place to help you connect to God and others. Let those rhythms form you into a person that is more God-loving and people-centric, that moves you deeper into friendship rather than loneliness. The schedule already exists for you. All you have to do is show up. And that's part of the beauty of a schedule. Schedules are pre-planned decision-making that take into account our values and who we want to be. I will tell you, at 6:30 on Thursday night, I have 5 children who are small and sometimes annoying. 6:30 on Thursday night is when they hit their witching hour. I'm hangry, they're tired, they're like, meh, 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 meh. And all I want to do is sit on the couch and put on Australian Bachelorette and just like zone out of life. I am not thinking about the kind of person that I want to be or whether or not I want to have friends in 6 months' time at that moment, but I don't have to. Because centered, responsible Megan, who cares about her soul and is trying to live her life in line with Jesus, has already decided that we are going to small group at 6:30 p.m. on Thursday. It doesn't matter that Australian Bachelorette sounds like the best use of my time right now, because my schedule protects me from the winds of the moment and says, no, Megan, this is not the best use of your time. In a fascinating article from 2016, a woman audited her time for a whole year, which sounds exhausting to me. So I'm glad she did it and not me. But one of her big takeaways was that she had way more agency to choose her time than she thought. But because of her feeling of tiredness, she didn't make those choices properly in the morning. So it wasn't that she didn't have the time. It was she was too tired to make a good decision once she got to that time. Early says, we stand on the scaffold of a schedule working to create something great in life. I think the reason I cling to this image so much is because it gets to the heart of the purpose of a schedule, which is not to stifle meaning in your life. It is the exact opposite. A schedule is the way you reclaim this currency of purpose called time. It is the way that you grab it and use it well. When we feel like we're too busy or we don't have enough time, often what we're running into is not a lack of time, but rather will fatigue. Interestingly, they've done studies. You only have a finite amount of will, which is like your decision-making power every day. And so if you wait until Sunday morning at 10 a.m. to decide whether or not you're going to church, or Thursday night after work to decide whether or not you're going to small group, I'll tell you, you will decide not to, because you've already used up all of your good decision-making earlier in the day. Do not leave your decision-making up to that daily finite amount of will that you have. Use your best moments to decide and make a schedule that values and prioritizes what you actually care about, the person that you want to be in this world, what God says is important in the world, and then let that guide you in making decisions. Annie Dillard writes, "A schedule defends from chaos and whim. It is a net for catching days. It is a scaffolding on which a worker can stand and labor with both hands at sections of time." Remember what Paul warns us. He says, "Remember this, whoever sows sparingly will also reap sparingly, and whoever sows generously will also reap generously." So look at your schedule and ask yourself, am I sowing generously into time being with people? If I want to reap a harvest of friendship and deep relationship with others, and actually having people in my life when I need them, if I long for the opposite of loneliness, then I must invest time in being with people. I have to schedule it. I have to commit to it. And then just wait and see what God does with what you've given him, with your faithful, committed planting into people. Now, there is another show that I very easily could have wasted a bunch of time on. Do any of you like the Alien franchise? See some hands right there. So I don't know if you all know, but there's a new Alien Earth TV show out right now, and it is banging. I love it. I sat down and watched the first 2 episodes as soon as they dropped. But annoyingly, they're releasing every episode like once a week. So I had to actually sit down and stop and think about my decisions. I love Alien, but so does my friend Jacob. He hosted an Alien watch party this summer. And do you know what's even better than watching Alien? Watching Alien with people. I could put watching Alien each week into my schedule as me time and just sit in my house by myself and enjoy Alien. I would like it. But what if I made it people time instead? I talked to Jacob. He was pumped, of course, because it's Alien, and we've invited people to come and watch something that I would do anyway. But now it's a chance to invest in time with people. And in doing this, we watched the first 2 episodes, was it 2 weeks ago? I've learned that Karen hates scary movies. She refused to come because she was so terrified. And I didn't know how much she hated scary movies. I've also learned that my friend Megan here actually gets scared during horror movies. I thought because she listens to all these like spooky podcasts and reads scary books that she wouldn't get scared, but she and I both had blankets. And when I would look over, she was behind the blanket just as much as me. We trauma bonded with Lee over the disgustingness of Alien Romulus. He'd never seen something as horrifying as that before. And I could have chosen to watch it by myself and enjoy it. But I was made for people. You are made for people. It is not good for you to be alone. So choose to invite people to do life with you. Choose to eat with a classmate. Choose to go to the awkward social event. Choose to invite someone to work out with you or play dorky board games with you or go grocery shopping with you. It is these small, seemingly inconsequential choices that accumulate over a lifetime and make us into people who have the opposite of loneliness, true and abiding friendship. It is not good for you to be alone. You are made for people. So use your schedule to form you into a person who is rich towards God and rich towards others. Let's pray. God, thank you so much for people and that's how you've wired us and the joy and sometimes heartache it is to be in relationship with other people, Lord. We know that our souls long for that connection because you said that it's good for us to be with others. That's how we're made, Lord. And I know that it is easy to drift into loneliness and to recognize that deep friendship is something that we want, but to not actually align our lives and our schedules to reflect what is most important to us, Lord. And so I ask that you give us eyes to see our schedule and how we're spending our time and whether or not that is actually investing in you and investing in others, or if our schedules don't actually reflect what is most important to us, Lord. I pray that each person here will commit to a life of being rich towards you and rich towards others, Lord, and that we will reap generously what we have sown into the love of you and the love of others. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you for joining the Damascus Road podcast. Our mission is to follow Jesus together by being with God, loving everyone, transforming people, developing leaders, growing new ministries, and changing the world. You can find out more about us online at DamascusRoadTucson.com.